Hello everyone, and welcome to the Overcorrection. It's been another really eventful week with key developments at a domestic as well as international level. At a very high level, the BRICS summit saw India once again being at the center of a firestorm, with the Western commentariat questioning whether India are true allies of the West. Closer to our borders, we have a lot more updates on how things have progressed in Bangladesh since the ousting of the Sheikh Hasina government. An Indian company, CareEdge International, has entered the global sovereign rating agency space and has challenged the monopoly of S&P Global, Moody and Fitch. And in some positive news, the Indian and Chinese negotiators have potentially arrived at an agreement on patrolling along the line of actual control, the LAC, leading to hopefully a disengagement and a resolution of the issues that had arisen in these areas in 2020. And finally, we have some more shocking developments in the ever-contentious Indo-Canadian relations. This is Purjit Gautam, and welcome to What's Left of Center. The BRICS summit has put India once again on center stage, and it saw PM Modi in a warm embrace with Putin. That's what really got a lot of the West annoyed. And now this is the same PM Modi who has shared similar warm embraces with Zelensky, Biden, the head of Australia, Israel, and Palestine. So India is walking that proverbial geopolitical tightrope with strategic mastery, and it shows that it is increasing its stature globally. Now, India's approach of strategic autonomy deserves all the credit for this, because it's helped India navigate this extremely tricky geopolitical landscape over the last 4 to 5 years. I actually think Ian Bremmer captured it best in his tweet when he said that India has arguably the best geopolitical position globally right now. It has a leadership role in the global south. It is attempting to stabilize relations with China. It has strong relations across the G7. It has strong relations with Russia, with limited backlash from the West. And it is one of the standout economies in terms of growth projections. I really think it is a testament to the government staying its ground, but also to the government's effort to build narratives and partnerships with countries who the spectators might view as unconventional. So India might get lambasted in the news for many things on human rights, but it's the same country that has good relations with a country like Iran. So those who believe that narrative building and control are not relevant are frankly naive to the reality of real politics and the sheer power that narrative control brings you in this world. Take the US, for example. They have been the hegemonic controller of global narrative for years, and they will clearly continue to be so. Now, switching gears to our neighbors, Bangladesh. The student-led movement that was successfully co-opted by radical forces has gotten its wishes with the interim government led by Mohammad Yunus. But clearly the promises of democracy, safety of minorities, and stability are a distant dream. The Indian Foreign Ministry has written to Bangladesh's interim government today, expressing serious concern over multiple attacks on temples, shrines, puja mandaps, and pandals. The attacks include incidents of desecration, vandalism, robbery, and defacement. Now, of course, Mohammad Yunus has gone on to say that the claims are exaggerated and the violence is not communal. But it's sad to see this kind of justification of violence and, frankly, immediate detachment of a communal angle when the nature of the violence affects the Hindu minority in Bangladesh. Now, there's a clear cause for concern for India, as Mohammad Yunus's caretaker government has freed people like Jashmuddin Rahmani, who's the chief of the Ansarullah Bangla team, the ABT, which is an Al-Qaeda affiliated terrorist outfit. Now, the terrorist group has been trying to establish a jihadi network with the help of sleeper cells. These are real threats for India, and it's worrisome to see this kind of dangerous politicking in Bangladesh go unchecked. Now, funnily enough, perhaps the move of utmost democracy is that Bangladesh is likely to ban Sheikh Hasina's Awami League's student wing called BCL and declare it a terrorist group. Now, this move follows rising demands from the anti-discrimination student movement, and they've also asked to abolish the constitution, remove President Shahabuddin, and dissolve the BCL. Even Transparency International Bangladesh, the TIB, has expressed deep concerns, stating that the government's bowing to self-interested, radical threats would set a dangerous precedent. Such decisions encourage more demand from radicals, which will prove difficult for the government to handle in the future. I really hope that Mohammad Yunus's government gets a better grasp of the law and order situation, and that he tries to put Bangladesh back on track to be the once poster child of growth and democracy and stability that the West used to hail it for being. Now, on the economic front, the story of CareEdge International's sovereign rating system is fascinating, and it could really bring about a fundamental change in the way that sovereign ratings have operated. The current leaders in the industry, such as S&P Global, Fitch, and Moody, have often been subject to criticism as they have usually had an over-reliance on perception-based indicators, and these are often based on qualitative data from sources. Now, this is a similar issue with indexes such as the Democracy Index or Happiness Index, where the data relies heavily on sources that are more often than not likely to be biased in their reports on qualitative answers. So, one article in the print captures it really well. It says that to assess the willingness to pay in the sovereign credit rating agency models currently, there is a large component of subjective assessment, mainly through world governance indicators. Now, the reliance on governance indicators is premised on the notion that there exists a linear relationship between economic growth and governance, which may not always be applicable for developing and emerging economies. So it's nice to see that CareEdge International has even brought in progressive themes like, say, environmental sustainability into its sovereign credit rating models. And one hopes that this pushes countries to improve on these metrics that are so important for the future of our world. Now, however, until there is a large-scale adoption of CareEdge International system, one can only expect that the current players will dominate the market, but perhaps it's a sign for better things to come. Now, on the slightly positive news, there are reports that a negotiated settlement has made progress between India and China regarding patrolling along the line of actual control, specifically in key strategic areas of the Depsang Plains and Demchok. Now, these negotiations have been ongoing for more than 4 years, and one hopes that this time the Chinese will honor these agreements on the borders, because they have broken this in the past, from Doklam to the 2020 flare-ups. And to wrap up this episode, I wanted to bring up a rather shocking development as Indo-Canadian relations continue to hit an all-time low. It turns out that the Canadian Border Services Agency, the CBSA, has confirmed that a man named Sandeep Singh Sidhu, who's a man that was wanted for promoting terrorist activities in Punjab and the murder of a Shaurya Chakra awardee in Punjab, is a CBSA employee. After confirming to India that Sandeep is indeed an employee, the CBSA has gone on to stress that no, our employees are subject to background checks and reviews prior and periodically throughout their career. But frankly, given that individuals like Nijjar have made it into the country and operating there, one wonders how well this apparatus is functioning. In fact, according to Indian investigative agencies, Sidhu, the CBSA employee in question, is a Canadian national who has worked with a Pakistan-based man named Lakbir Rode, who is a nephew of the radical Sikh preacher Jarnail Bhindranwale. Now, a source said that Sidhu has conspired and given funds to a gangster who is based in the UAE to kill a man named Balwinder Singh Sandhu in Punjab in October. I mean, this is just shocking to see, and obviously the real truth and all of this will only be unearthed over time and once a detailed investigation is carried out. But the fact that employees like with these kind of ties might even be operational in a Canadian agency is a scary thought, not just for Indians, but for Canadians. We Indians know how dangerous of a Pandora's box Khalistani terrorism is once it has been opened. And one hopes that Canada really takes these investigations and alerts that India has raised about the Khalistani network operating in Canada with the utmost sincerity. That's all for today's update, everybody. Thank you for watching What's Left of Center. I'm your host, Purjit Gautam, and this is The Overcorrection.